there was a paper which came out last year, and the paper didn't actually show this, and the authors were very cautious in what they found in the paper, but they were not in their press release. And the headline, which goes around everywhere, and I saw it on LinkedIn again yesterday, was exercise is 1.5 times more effective than antidepressant medication and therapy. It's not true. It's not true. There's no evidence to suggest that. The author's paper, which looked at that, which was just a review of reviews, looking at what lots of other people had done, they actually said in their own discussion in that case was that exercise could be comparable or maybe slightly better in very mild cases of anxiety and depression to medication or psychotherapy. And I think the key context within this is the authors also say within their abstract, so the summary and also their paper, the results of exercise trials were extremely / very low quality. And that's quite a boring explanation within that. But basically, if you're looking at bias, concealment, and other things, it's very easy to do in medication trials because you can blind people. The person doesn't know if they're having the medication or the placebo. They don't know because it's a pill. They look the same. They taste the same if they taste of anything. So it's designed very clearly. And it's quite easy to do what we call double-blind trials when it comes to medication. So the quality is much, much better because you're reducing as much bias as possible. We can't do that with exercise, so the quality is much lower. And it's really like comparing, we often say when we're pooling studies together, apples and oranges, but in this case, I'd say it's comparing apples with, I don't know, kangaroos or something so different because the quality and the type of studies is really different. And it's so unhelpful for people who hear this type of thing too. So the authors didn't find this in their paper. They didn't compare exercise versus medication or therapy. They also say this is very low quality. If we did compare it, it'd be comparable, maybe slightly better. But it came out with this headline, which is just really confusing. It's been repeated all over the world on very big podcasts like Joe Rogan, and that's not helpful for people who live with depression and anxiety and maybe taking medication and may put off taking medication, may think I don't need this or may have other things. And it's not what the science says. The science says very clearly that when there have been what we call head-to-head trials, when you compare exercise versus medication for mild depression, they have a similar effect. And that's what the research showed. There was a trial last year where they compared running versus antidepressant medication. Similar effect, but more people stopped exercise because it requires effort. And that makes a lot of sense. And then you can do other indirect comparisons in a mathematical model. And I don't want to get too boring, but this is within something called a network meta-analysis where you're able to do clever mathematical modeling and you can indirectly compare exercise versus medication therapy, and there's no difference. And that's what they'd say. But the authors made a really strange comparison, which they didn't consider in their paper, and came out with this headline, which keeps getting repeated. And I suppose that's one of the more frustrating things because people are starting to really question the great progress that we've made in the field. And also strange for being perhaps very critical of the field in that regard as someone who's been very positive about the field. But I think it's important to have balance. And if we want to be credible, we want to be in the interest of people with depression, that we should be speaking fairly and using and communicating science in a robust and clear way.